Hello, and welcome to Ms. PM Reads Christian Content, where we are starting a new story for the month of December. It is the story of The Other Wise Man by Henry Van Dyke. So it just starts right in. Here we go. The story of the other wise man. Who seeks for heaven alone to save his soul may keep the path, but will not reach the goal. While he who walks in love may wander far, yet God will bring him where the blessed are. You know the story of the three wise men of the East and how they traveled from far away to offer their gifts at the manger cradle in Bethlehem. But have you ever heard the story of the other wise man who also saw the star in its rising and set out to follow it, yet did not arrive with his brethren in the presence of the young child Jesus? Of the great desire of this fourth pilgrim and how it was denied, yet accomplished in denial, of his many wanderings and the probations of his soul, of the long way of his seeking and the strange way of his finding the one whom he sought. I would tell the tale as I've heard it, fragments of it, in the hall of dreams, in the palace of the heart of man. Interesting beginning. The sign in the sky. In the days when Augustus Caesar was master of many kings and Herod ruled in Jerusalem, there lived in the city of Ecbatana, among the mountains of Persia, a certain man named Artabab, the Median. His house stood close to the outermost of the 7 walls which encircled the royal treasury. From his roof, he could look over the rising battlement of black and white crimson and blue and red and silver and gold to the hill where the summer palace of the Parthian emperors glittered like a jewel in a 7-fold crown. Around the dwelling of Artabab spread a fair garden, a tangle of flowers and fruit trees, watered by a score of streams descending from the Mount of Orontes, and made musical by innumerable birds. But all color was lost in the soft and odorous darkness of the late September night, and all sounds were hushed in the deep charm of its silence, save the plashing of the water, like a voice half sobbing and half laughing under the shadows, high above the trees. A dim glow of light shone through the curtained arches of the upper chamber, where the master of the house was holding counsel with his friends. He stood by the door to greet his guests, a tall, dark man of about 40, with brilliant eyes set near together under his broad brow, and firm lines graven around his fine, thin lips, the brow of a dreamer and the mouth of a soldier, a man of sensitive feelings but inflexible will, one of those who, in whatever age they may live, are born for inward conquest and a life of quest. His robe was of pure white wool, thrown over a tunic of silk, and a white pointed cap with long lapels at the sides rested on his flowing black hair. It was the dress of the ancient priesthood of the Magi, called the fire worshippers. "Welcome," he said in his low, pleasant voice, as one after another entered the room. "Welcome, Abdus, peace be with you, Rhodaspis and Tigranes, and with you, my father Abgarus. You are all welcome, and this house grows bright with the joy of your presence." There were 9 of the men, differing wildly in age, but alike in the richness of their dress of many-colored silks and in the massive golden collars around their necks, marking them as Parthian nobles, and in the winged circles of gold resting upon their breasts, the sign of the followers of Zoroaster. Zoroaster. They took their places around a small black altar at the end of the room where a tiny flame was burning. Artabab, standing beside it and waving a barsum of thin tamarisk branches above the fire, fed it with dry sticks of pine and fragrant oils. Then he began the ancient chant of the yasna, and the voices of his companions joined in the beautiful hymn to Ahura Mazda. We worship the Spirit divine, all wisdom and goodness possessing, surrounded by holy immortals, the givers of bounty and blessing. We joy in the works of his hands, his truth and his powers confessing. We praise all the things that are pure, for these are all his creation. The thoughts that are true and the words and the deeds that have won approbation. These are supported by him, and for these we make adoration. Hear us, O Mazda, thou livest in truth and in heavenly gladness. Cleanse us from falsehood and keep us from evil and bondage to badness. Pour out the light of and the joy of thy life on our darkness and sadness. Shine on our gardens and fields. Shine on our working and weaving. Shine on the whole race of man, believing and unbelieving. Shine on us now through the night. Shine on us now in thy might, the flame of our holy love and the song of our worship receiving. Interesting. The fire rose with the chant, throbbing as if it were made of musical flame, until it cast a bright illumination through the whole apartment, revealing its simplicity and splendor. The floor was laid with tiles of dark blue veined with white. Pilasters of twisted silver stood out against the blue walls. The clear story of round arched windows among them was hung with azure silk. The vaulted ceiling was a pavement of sapphires, like the body of heaven in its clearness, sewn with silver stars. From the four corners of the roof hung 4 golden magic wheels, called the tongues of God. At the eastern end, behind the altar, there were 2 dark red pillars of porphyry. Above them, a lintel of the same stone on which was carved the figure of a winged archer with his arrow set to the string and his bow drawn. The doorway between these pillars, which opened upon the terrace on the roof, was covered with a heavy curtain of the color of a ripe pomegranate, embroidered with innumerable golden rays shooting upward from the floor. In effect, the room was like a quiet, starry night, all azure and silver, flushed in the east with rosy promise of the dawn. It was, as the house of a man should be, an expression of the character and spirit, there we go, of the master. Wow. So remember, I'm reading this for the first time too, so I haven't previewed it. We're on this journey together. He turned to his friends when the song was ended and invited them to be seated on the divan at the end of the room. You have come tonight, he said, looking around the circle, at my call, as the faithful scholars of Zoroaster, to renew your worship and rekindle your faith in the God of purity, even as this fire has been rekindled on the altar. We worship not the fire, but him to whom it is the chosen symbol, because it is the purest of all created things. It speaks to us of one who is light and truth. Is it not so, my father? "It is well said, my son," answered the venerable Abgarus. "The enlightened are never idolaters. They lift the veil of the form and go into the shrine of the reality. And new light and truth are coming to them continually through old symbols." "Hear me then, my father and friends," said Artabab very quietly, "while I tell you of the new light and truth that have come to me through the most ancient of all signs. We have searched the secrets of nature together and studied the healing virtues of water and fire and the plants. We have also read the books of prophecy, in which the future is dimly foretold in words that are hard to understand. But the highest of all learning is the knowledge of the stars. To trace their courses is to untangle the threads of the mystery of life from the beginning to the end. If we could follow them perfectly, nothing would be hidden from us. But it is not our knowledge of them, is it still incomplete? Are there not many stars still beyond our horizon, lights that are known only to the dwellers of the far southland among the spice trees of Punt and the gold mines of Ophir?" There was a murmur of assent among the listeners. "The stars," said Tigranes, "are the thoughts of the eternal. They are numberless, but the thoughts of man can be counted, like the years of life. The wisdom of the Magi is the greatest of all wisdoms on earth because it knows its own ignorance. And that is the secret of power. We keep men always looking and waiting for a new sunrise. But we ourselves know that the darkness is equal to the light, and that the conflict between them will never be ended." "That does not satisfy me," answered Artabab, "for if the waiting must be endless, if there could be no fulfillment of it, then it would not be wisdom to look and wait. We should become like those new teachers of the Greeks who say that there is no truth, and that the only wise men are those who spend their lives in discovering and exposing the lies that have been believed in the world. But the new sunrise will certainly dawn in the appointed time. Do not our own books tell us that this will come to pass, and that men will see the brightness of a great light?" "That is true," said the voice of Abgarus. "Every faithful disciple of Zoroaster knows the prophecy of Avesta and carries the word in his heart. In that day, Sosiosh, the victorious, will arise out of the number of the prophets in the east country. Around him shall shine a mighty brightness, and he shall make life everlasting, incorruptible, and immortal, and the dead shall rise again." "That is a dark saying," said Tigranes, "and it may be that we shall never understand it. It is better to consider the things that are near at hand and to increase the influence of the Magi in their own country, rather than to look for one who may be a stranger and to whom we must resign our power." The others seemed to approve these words. There was a silent feeling of agreement manifest among them. Their looks responded with that indefinable expression which always follows when a speaker has uttered the thought that has been slumbering in the hearts of his listeners. But Artaban turned to Abgarus with a glow on his face and said, "My father, I have kept this prophecy in the secret place of my soul. Religion without a great hope would be like an altar without a living fire. And now the flame has burned more brightly And by the light of it, I have read other words, which also have come from the fountain of truth, and speak yet more clearly of the rising of the victorious one in his brightness. He drew up from the breast of his tunic 2 small rolls of fine linen, with writing upon them, and unfolded them carefully upon his knee. In the years that are lost in the past, long before our fathers came into the land of Babylon, there were wise men in Chaldea, from whom the first of the Magi learned the secret of the heavens. And of these, Balaam, the son of Beor, was one of the mightiest. Hear the words of his prophecy. There shall come a star out of Jacob, and a scepter shall rise out of Israel. The lips of Tigranes drew downward with contempt as he said, Judah was a captive by the waters of Babylon, and the sons of Jacob were in bondage to our kings. The tribes of Israel are scattered throughout the mountains like lost sheep, and from the remnant that dwells in Judea under the yoke of Rome, neither star nor scepter shall arise. And yet, answered Artabab, it was the Hebrew Daniel, the mighty searcher of dreams, the counselor of kings, the wise Belteshazzar, who was most honored and beloved by our great King Cyrus, a prophet of sure things and a reader of the thoughts of God. Daniel proved himself to our people. And these are the words that he wrote. Artabab read from the second scroll. Know, therefore, and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore Jerusalem unto the anointed one, the prince, the time shall be 67 weeks. But my son, said Abagaris doubtfully, these are mystical numbers. Who can interpret them, and who can find the key that shall unlock their meaning? And we are going to stop right there. Artabab's going to answer him. All right. I hear some similarities there. Well, I hope you're enjoying the story as it starts. It's got a little bit of a slow start, explanation of background. I do want to remind you, where is my sign? The new sign, because I'm using both sides of that board. Anyway, you want to subscribe if you're enjoying this story or the devotional, or hopefully we'll be enjoying the stories that still are to come on the channel. Go ahead and subscribe. And when you do, you want to hit the bell tab so that you will get a notification when a new video posts. For this story, it's going to be 4 videos, and I think I'm going to post them on Tuesdays. So I hope you have a blessed day, and I will see you on the next video.